Good evening and welcome to the January 11th, 2023 Planning Board meeting for the Town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. The board does have a quorum, and we'll start with a roll call. Mike?
Mike Richmond.
Mike D'Arcangelo.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Ed Kranich. Mark Child.
And from Zoom?
Kevin Woodbury.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you're unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the approval of 2 sets of minutes for November 9th and December 14th, and then some new business for a public hearing site plan review, followed by some workshop and some staff communications and updates. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone and state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. All persons speaking shall address the chair. Any conversations must be held in abeyance until after the board has formally adjourned. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of the board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file such an appeal, you must be certain that the board records evidence of your appearance this evening. All right. First order of business is the approval of the minutes for November 9th. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections?
And I move to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion is made to accept the November 9th minutes by Greg, second by Ed. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. And next is the minutes for December 14th, 2022.
Move the minutes to be accepted as written.
Second.
Greg moves to accept the minutes as written, seconded by Ed. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. It's passed. All right. Next order of business is a public hearing site plan review. I think is a sketch plan review for 12 County Road.
Excuse me, is this a public, this isn't a public hearing?
This isn't public hearing.
This is not a public
Not a
hearing.
public hearing, just a
No.
pre-app.
Thanks.
No decisions tonight.
Yep. Let me slip to that. Is it, I mispronounced this, I'm sure, Alan Askoff, is that?
That's the question.
You got it. Not bad. I never get it. All right. So we are, it's going to be it's not a public hearing, a site plan review. It's actually a sketch plan review. Jim, would you start us off? It's pretty quick.
Yep, this property is located at 12 County Road. The applicant, Alan Askoff, is requesting the addition of a 3,600 square foot garage storage building for the residents that are located on the property as well. This is located in the LLR2. It's on 2.68 acres. It's a legal non-conforming lot. During the technical review, our biggest concerns had to deal with obviously the proximity to Sebago Lake, looking at drainage, wetlands. We will need a boundary survey. And even though this is a minor site plan, the board does not have to request stormwater or certain items, but in this case, being the proximity and the fact that it's a pretty well-developed lot, we would suggest that we just get some kind of measures put in to treat the stormwater for the building addition. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's here because it's over 2,500 square feet and requires a minor site plan approval. At that point, we'll need to show utilities and access. I know that the fire department has a rather lengthy memo here, and I believe Wayne is out there if you want any feedback from Wayne, but that pretty much does it for us.
Okay. Wayne, do you have any initial comments?
No, I think it's all contained in the memo. You know, that the memo is dealing with the fire protection requirements that we've adopted in the town for, you know, the fire alarm system, water supplies, fire department access.
And this is on public water?
There's public water nearby, 750 feet away, plus or minus.
So there's a hydrant nearby.
Yes, the hydrant nearby.
Okay.
All right. Alan, could I ask you to go to the microphone so the public can hear us?
Speaking in the microphone.
Yeah. Are there any, do you have any specific questions for us?
Well, it seems that we only have enough room to, can I let John, this is John Bell, he's gonna be my contractor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to?
He can tell us that we're gonna have to redesign the building to fit. You want this boundary line made, right? You want a boundary survey, you're gonna require that, or do you wanna go with a 2.68 acres? If you do go with a 2.68 acres, which we've all done, and I've got, Matt from,
In my office.
right,
Yep.
had told me that we got approximately 3,200, what's those number, John? 3,200 and,
He has enough room to do 3,268 square feet.
right, so to do
Lot
that,
coverage.
we'd have to reduce the building down to
50 by 56.
50 by 56. And then we'd have a driveway 14 by 30. Now, I can't move the building any closer to the road, right? You're not gonna give me a variance to move it to 25 feet, would you, Alex?
I wouldn't know. That would be the zoning board of appeals. That would have to do.
Oh, I couldn't do that then. So we're gonna have to keep that at 30 feet. And I would do the setbacks everywhere, at least 30 feet, if not more. And there is no doors in the back of the building. We were gonna do a steel building. So the fire, there's a hydrant at both ends of the road, and there's a retention pond across the street from it. You see my little aerial plan I gave you?
Yep.
You know, I can't put a driveway all around that because we'll go past that square footage area. I mean, we can't do the impervious, we'll lose that impervious surfaces if we just tar the whole thing. So I really can't give, like, the fire department's asking for a road all the way around there to drive a ladder truck. We're not gonna have a building that tall. I mean, how tall you suspect the building to be? 20?
The maximum, I think, was 21 feet.
21 feet. So we're not gonna have a very high building, and we're gonna have it all made out of steel. I just wanted to grass the area around it and have walk-up storage. The tenants could drive their car into the driveway and then walk whatever it was to the doors. The swale that's there, the drainage swale, we would exaggerate that so that we could mow it and then just have it all lawn and just ride a lawnmower down through there. I have an antique picture of that property, and that swale is there, and it was exaggerated. You could see a drainage ditch that came down through there at one time. It was all pasture, and that's what they had. So, I mean, I could put it back that way. And, anyway, the fire, you know, they could park the truck right out front, pick the ladder up and hit it. I mean, it's, like I said, we're gonna try to make it a non-flammable type building anyways, but that's the only thing that I see that it's gonna be hard to overcome. Is those fire. access roads, which I don't know how
Because
we.
the lot can only have 15%, 50% lot coverage, so that's the tough point.
So is there a reason why you're putting it way at the other end of the property?
Well, it was a buildable lot at one time, and then we've been told we could do this quite right along. And to put it right at the end of the driveway is gonna be a problem on the county, you know what I mean? If I put it up towards the building,
Right?
it's gonna be a little bit harder to do. And what I don't wanna have a daily thing going there. I wanna just have it, you know, it's a storage building. There's nothing on the back of it, no windows or doors on the back of the building. There's just roll-up doors on the sides and that front garage door.
So it's not a garage, per se.
Well, it's a barn that I'm gonna put, you know, plows in the summer and boats in the winter. I mean, it's my property. And anytime,
oh, no,
anytime you do anything at any of those apartments, you gotta bring it in. I mean, I'm hauling everything in. I'd like to have a tractor on site with a lawnmower, you know, have things there to maintain the property.
Yeah, then you were talking about small units
Right,
on the
and small
outside.
units to go
individually
with-
Lot owner.
I know
individual
we're just talking about it at this particular point, but I got a collage that'll show you that, I mean, there's junk in all four corners of that building. And the fire department and the insurance company have both told me that, you know, you can't have stuff in the hallways and you can't have stuff in the basement, and that's got to be one of the oldest buildings in Raymond. And we're all amazed at the timbers and the way it's still held together.
Are you talking about the house?
Yeah, the house itself, yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, this is sorely needed there. I mean, and that was what I could do with the property. When they bought it, they combined it and said, well, it's gonna be part of this now. But originally, it was a separate lot. It's just that we put it in the same name. My father put it in his name, and they said, well, we're gonna make it part of it. And yes, I mean, at one time, that property owned the whole shebang.
Yeah, it's probably
I think it was
3
Damascus
acre.
Jordan. Damascus Jordan built the house in the late 1700s, 1800s. It's been there for,
Wow,
Wow.
that's amazing.
Yeah, the zoning minimum lot size is 3 acres.
3 acres, right?
well, like I said, it's been created
Yeah.
not by me. I didn't sell all the pieces
No,
off.
you're illegal.
No, no.
You're legal non-conforming.
We've, you know, we've added some land to the property. And if I could buy the lot behind it, I would. I just don't think Vinnie will sell me the lot.
Well, that's the property on Crockett, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. See, it goes up against Crockett too, but that's the septic, that's the drainage system or whatever, the distribution field is right there. So that doesn't make a good spot to do it. On the road would be easily, and it would be far enough away from the other building so that if it did have a problem, you wouldn't be, you know what I mean? They wouldn't be so close that it would be a problem. If I put it up on the other property and there was a fire, where are they gonna go? If it's right down there on the road and it's steel, I just don't see that it's gonna go anywhere. I think it's the safest place to put it.
Okay. So for us, that you would like to know if we agree with the placement, whether or not we're going to require you to have a road access all around it.
Well, I wouldn't be able to build any building because
Right, no, I'm just running through.
I'm gonna lawn all around it. I was gonna make it I wanted to make it park-like.
Yeah, no, Alan, I'm not saying that, I'm just running through
Okay.
what,
Fine.
right now, what is on the table to discuss. I'm not saying that's the way it has to be done.
That's fine, yeah.
But you mentioned 30 feet, you would rather put it closer to the road?
Well, it would give you more, you know, grass area instead of having blacktop. It would
Right, or
eliminate-
cut down on impervious
So
surface.
5 feet ahead would eliminate 70 square feet of
Right,
impervious surfaces.
yep,
It's the only reason I do it. But, you know, I can use the 30 feet of driveway because people can drive in and unload their car and walk around. So it's not a problem.
okay. Because we couldn't, as Alex said, you'd have to go to the zoning board
Well,
of
we won't
appeals.
do that.
get
And I'm gonna give, and by reducing the size of the building, I'm gonna give more room, more setback to Ivy Jordan's property, which I'm only required 20 feet, but I'll give her 30. And then behind it's required 30, and it will be more because the lot's 125 feet deep, so basically we'll take that off the back too, so there might be a 40-foot setback behind me.
Okay,
So I'll be well within the zoning requirements for setback.
And what would be the buffer? And I think you mentioned the house.
Well, there is a ridge of trees there now. There is some trees, but I would put grass back everywhere I could. And I'd make that grade probably a quarter inch to the foot up to the building, and then increase that swale to make it gradually enough so I could ride a mower up and down it.
So the house that's there is going to be looking at your steel building.
What are you saying now?
The house,
The neighbor's house?
the neighbor's house,
Yes.
there'll be nothing between their house and the building.
There's stuff there, there's trees growing there.
now.
Okay, and you're not taking those down?
Not what's there now, no, and I've left there's 20 feet, so.
Gotcha.
It'd be 30, I mean, there's still be a grassed area to walk down to the doors.
Okay,
And there'd be grass behind the building too, but no doors behind the building, no windows, nothing, it's just
Can you
steel
explain the
wall.
orientation of the building? You have a sketch on the back of this page. The overhead door will be facing which way?
Street.
Straight to the door, that's the front, that's right onto County Road.
Okay, so that, the overhead door faces the street.
And that'd be 30 feet right into it. I think my little sketch is kind of a,
Oh, it's a good sketch, it's
Yeah,
just I can't
it's
tell
good.
the orientation. And all the individual doors for the property owners
are on both sides.
Both sides.
On the other side of 302.
on both sides?
okay.
Down near the new health center place.
Okay. So, three
I have-
sides will have doors.
We drew, John prepared a 60 by 60 steel building. I have a plan that I can show you that it was 60 by 60, but we can reduce it down to the 50 feet would be the fascia or the frontage, and 56 feet would be the depth. I have a picture of that if you want to see what that would look like. I mean,
I'm just trying to
and he's gonna
understand your
reduce the
building
pit.
sketch. So
think-
there's doors on three sides except for the side that's facing your neighbor, the neighbor's house.
Yeah, the
correct?
neighbor from Crockett Road.
Yeah.
There's a,
Okay,
The neighbor on
There's a
Crockett.
house right here on Crockett Road. This is the back right here.
that would be the back.
This is the back and these are the sides and this is the
okay.
front.
We have another plan.
So if you were doing it like that's your driveway, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the overhead and then.
Then you have access, you'd have units on this side, and this side would be solid wall.
Okay, so the side that's facing the
Neighbor.
house on County,
Yep.
wouldn't you have to clear all that
Roof
out to
line
get
like that,
access in
is
there
that what
for
you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go to their units?
With, and I'm John Bell, Paco
Yeah,
Construction.
just have to,
Hey, John, you gotta switch,
Sorry.
we'll get out on the break.
John Bell, Paco Construction. Over on the county road side, the neighbor that's on the left-hand side would be looking at overhead door access for storage units.
right. But he was just saying, because of the setback being 20 feet, and if you put it right up to the 20 feet, you'd have to clear out that vegetation between that and the neighbor, that's all.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And I don't know if there's a way you could slide that. I think what you're probably asking is, can it slide a little bit more towards the middle to keep a little bit of that buffer?
One of the things that his drawing or aerial photography is not showing is that there is a pretty decent sized swale that goes in between the proposed building and the existing. And
Yeah,
Right,
You
yeah,
can
we
see
can see
that.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
we can
okay.
see that. I think
so-
there's room to move it like 4 or 5 feet. I don't think it's gonna crush you or anything.
Yeah,
and what he was thinking of doing, like he had said before, was just there'd be foot traffic on the side of it, not anything more
okay,
than
they
that.
wouldn't be able to drive a vehicle in there to take stuff up?
No,
Okay.
no, it's storage just for that house alone. Or apartment, sorry.
So the sketch shows 2, 4, 5 storage units on one side, 5 storage units on the other side,
That was originally the proposed, but with us decreasing the size of the building, we'd have to reduce that.
and it's serving how many apartments?
8?
10, 9,
Nine.
8, 9, okay.
9, sorry.
Well, one of those is mine, one was gonna use one as an office.
Oh.
There's 5 on both sides, and one was gonna be
Yeah,
just like an
office.
office.
Okay. All right. What do we got, questions? So some of the things that we would want, property line marks,
We'll need, yeah, because we need to know what the setbacks are.
we need to know the setbacks. Stormwater being, so assuming this is a picture of a marina close to the lake, so stormwater runoff, are going to want, not going to want?
Well, does that swale drain under the road into, across the street? Okay, and that's a retention area in there currently?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
So that seems like that should be
Yeah, I think
pretty
the
good.
water goes that way, then it comes back across, right?
No, it doesn't.
It just sits in there?
Alan, could you go back to the, sorry.
I guess I got it. So the setback, first off, the setback to Ivy Jordan's property is 20 feet.
Yep.
But
Right.
I would make it 30. I'll go 30, 35 even. I can go even farther than that. The drainage ditch that's to the left of the garage, if, let's say I'm in the garage and I'm looking at County Road, the drainage ditch to the left is part of my property, and I can move that a little to the right and make it so that I can drive a tractor in and out of there to keep it mowed and keep it clear. And that's basically the drainage for the whole property and the people behind me. And that goes under the road and into that retention pond, and then it crosses the road again and goes into Sebago Lake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does cross and go
Yep.
a couple times, but it heads into the lagoon,
Yeah,
basically.
you can see it discharges down by the marina.
Is that the little-
It goes into the lagoon, and they've got a culvert down there to go put it into the lagoon. So it goes under another road too, so it goes under
Yes.
three
Yeah, it
roads.
goes between that and his apartment house.
Okay,
Also, in the front of the road, in the front of the garage, there's another culvert and another ditch that comes down from Ivy Jordan's place and across and down, and then that connects and goes across too. So there's plenty of,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah, we just typically ask for some kind of treatment for new impervious, that's all, and it can just be as simple as a roof drip edge around the building.
I can do that, but I'm planning on putting lawn all the way around it, and then it's gonna,
It's not very
it'll grow
wide, you're
good.
talking about a foot, something just to collect the runoff that comes off the roof or the driveway. You can infiltrate,
Just crushed stone, right?
yeah,
And it's gonna go right, eventually it's gonna go to that.
yeah, that's fine, and we can, figure that out when we get to the design point.
so with no water going towards the lake as of now,
Well, it does, it eventually comes.
well, eventually, but it's not going to, but there would not,
There's, any sediment will settle out in that retention.
You
I
wouldn't
don't
even.
see any reason.
you wouldn't
No, I
even-
think it'd just
You
all
see-
drain to the retention pond. It'd take a long route, but it'd still get to the lake. But we just ask everybody to do a drip edge or something of that.
No, I'm talking about, if we want, the topographic of the land, of the
Oh.
layout, so we can find which way the water's going, but I think that's,
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-evident, and we can, I think when he works with Matt, I think he'll probably put what we call LiDAR on there, which is the satellite imagery, just to give you some feel for how it drains.
okay,
It's pretty simple.
all right.
We wouldn't be redirecting any water, it's still gonna go the same way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep,
That's good.
no,
That's a good thing.
we just usually like to see how it's going, where it's going, not,
Yeah, and it'll all pitch
But-
to that swale in
right.
the middle.
yep. Okay, what else?
So there's no heat source, there's not gonna be anything flammable inside the building, other than a vehicle, I guess, but, there's no wiring in any of the storage units, the only lights would be on the outside of the building for security type purposes. And I was gonna only have outlets inside, I was not gonna have any overhead wires, which is what the fire department, Wayne was talking about, to avoid. So we were gonna bring a meter in underground or off a pole, so that there wouldn't be any restriction for using a boom or a ladder or anything like that. The
Okay.
power is already across the street, utilities. I did fill out I did what I could on the 9-piece checklist you had.
Yep,
If you want my copy to look at it, just to see what I don't understand, I guess give you what I have and see what I missed. But there's no septic design, there's no plumbing in it, there's not gonna be any water hooked to it. I mean, I'm not gonna use any water lines there or anything.
you did mention exterior lighting.
Yeah, I would like to put some extra lighting in, and then I am aware of light trespassing and all that stuff.
Yeah, just
Okay.
full cutoff.
So we would
cutoff
just
space.
make it so that they were low lights and stuff, just enough to,
Okay,
motion detector type stuff.
do your two abutters know about this?
They
Who's the
will.
two abutters? I mean, behind me and all this, well, they probably do. I mean, they know that I've been doing it. I mean, more people know about it than I.
Well, they'll be
Okay,
notified.
well, I know they'll be notified, I'm just wondering if you have talked with them concerning specifically lighting, which is. always
No, we
comes up.
didn't talk about lighting. I mean, just said make it look pretty. So I think we're gonna do,
He was pretty.
she's got a nice looking place. I mean, she does have a really fancy house.
Which one is this now?
One just to the left, which should have the closest setback, and I think she'll appreciate me keeping it away from it. And the one behind me, I'll give them 40 feet. They have a deck that's pretty close to the line.
Yeah. No, I'm not,
Say charcoal gray, I think we were gonna do, what was the light color? A light gray with a dark gray roof, something like that.
Yeah, I just think if he's got the lights on a moisture sense, I don't think that'll be a,
no, I don't think it'd be
as
either.
long as it's full cutoff, maybe that'll be part of the site plan review.
Yep,
so.
okay. All right,
Will there be a driveway off of County Road coming in?
So, yeah, I've got,
Over
in
into our
the
right.
square footage that we're using it's 14 by
30.
14
Because
by
30 is the front
30.
yard setback, so he's gonna have the building as close to the street as possible.
Okay.
But I don't think you're gonna give me that setback, but that's all right. I mean, I'll keep it 30 feet from the building. I mean, the building 30 feet from the road, I mean. I'd back it off that. And like I said, it would give someone a chance to drive a car in there and unload and walk around to, put their stuff in.
Yep.
I was only gonna ask for 5 feet, but.
we can't do that, but.
It's not our board.
All right,
Not us.
So that's good. So then we just won't worry about that stat.
Yeah, yeah, it's not this board, and I'm guessing that they're probably not gonna be in the
Yeah.
mood to allow that.
Hello?
So, anyways.
All right, so you said you had some questions? I don't see that sheet. Did I?
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Isn't that what they submit, isn't that what he submits to staff?
Well, yeah, when we get the full application, we'll get the checklist.
Yeah,
Oh, so you don't have it?
we don't have it, no.
No, but that's fine, because we wouldn't have that till we have the full application anyway.
Right. We don't have it now, we will get it, but do you have specific questions off of that you need us to
Well, it
answer?
just says fill it out and don't check things that don't matter. So I just
Yeah,
filled
you
out
can-
what I could on it.
We can go over it in the office, just call us, Alex or I, and we can go over it with you.
Okay. Good. Is there any other comments or questions? Yeah, Mike?
I would just ask that, the next step somehow show us a little bit better the existing tree buffer in between you and the neighbor, just so we can understand. The aerial's great, but it doesn't really show it. So if it's on the survey, or maybe some photos taken from ground level would just be helpful for us. Yeah, exactly.
He's got him around the barn.
Just the one neighbor, or?
Just that whole area.
I think specifically the Crockett neighbor, we're not seeing any trees blocking the view.
You're good, it's background noise.
So are we asking for a survey, a plot plan?
We need a boundary, it's part of the requirement for a
Yeah.
site plan, we need a boundary plan,
So
So-
you can show all that.
on the
there.
boundary plan, yeah.
Good. Well, let me ask you this, the boundaries that you need, now that lot's pretty clearly, those two lots that have been combined that I'm trying to put this garage on are pretty easy to see. The pins are there still, and they're gonna be easy to do. The back lot, going all the way down, there's like 8 corners, and he's telling me that this is gonna be more involved to do all that. Do we need all those lines? And then the curved section that goes along, the brook that goes down from the retention pond, if you see that curved part of the plan? if
Yep.
you want me to point- I mean, you want a line all the way down there? Because that's gonna be hard to put up too. He tells me that this is gonna be drawn out if we have to do the whole kit and caboodle.
Can they do what the old lot separation was? And you just-
Yeah, if I can do just that lot. I
Well,
mean,
you might be able to, I mean, that's all we really care about for that, for the most part. If you're willing to accept that, I'm fine with that, but it's up to the board.
But
You
He's
need-
telling
you
me-
need
he's
something
telling me
to-
he'll do-
Something to compute the lot coverage.
Right.
Right.
there's no way,
Oh, he's telling me, do we-
without knowing the exact size of the lot, we're not able to determine the size of the building
From a survey.
from the survey. For
Could you just walk it with a Garmin?
Well, we just need a
That's what I do.
determination of some sort. I don't think we need to set pins along the whole thing, but I do think to Bob's point, I think we need to know exactly how it's surveyed in the exact area, because the impervious area, 15% is right to the
Right, we're right on.
square foot, so
Yeah.
we really need an accurate measurement here.
Well, if the old map was an A2 survey that he has record, can he use that and just draw, overlay and draw on the part that we're interested in?
That might not have enough, though. Right, he's probably using all this area in here.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right.
definitely, yes.
Yep.
I have a map of impervious surfaces already that he's figured, and we're using the 2.68 number.
Right.
And what I was gonna propose was a garage and driveway area that was less than the 3220. It's 3268, and I got 3220, so I'm going on the low side.
Alan, you gotta go 2 steps back and 1 step to your right.
Keep forgetting this thing. Okay, so, the time went on. So anyways, what I figured was to go, it looks like 50 square feet smaller than what it shows that I have available. And this is what he's got on this is what I got from Matt that shows impervious surfaces that are covered at this point. He tells me I got 2.8% left on the 15%. And 2.8 comes out to the 3268 number.
And is that based on deeds, or how did he determine that boundary?
Did it say in his letter? I think it says in his letter that,
Is it off the town's GIS, or is it off of boundary? Yeah, I think it's off the town's GIS, that's why there could be a little wiggle. It might be beneficial to you, it may be not. It's
Right.
good that you've got the wiggle room, but I think typically in site plans, we ask for a boundary. That's usually our standard, that's all.
So I guess the bottom line is, we're gonna need something,
Right.
something that shows your acreage that is from some authoritative source.
Right.
If it needs to be, actually surveyed to get that, then it might need to do that. If you can come up with some other way that accurately
Well,
show,
I don't, well, other than just in what we got here now, or I guess I gotta have them survey the whole thing.
I hate to
Like I said, we're using
tell you to have to do that, but I don't see
Yeah,
other. I don't see
we
other
have
way.
never surveyed the property because we really never had a loan on it. It went to the mortgage department or anything else. We do know where the pins are and some of the lines are because of abutters. And,
an interesting property line.
when they gave,
That's what-
there was a road.
It's expensive.
There was a road through the marina, and when they gave the marina the road and said, we don't want it anymore, and the town of Raymond said, we don't want the road anymore. And we said, look, so some of it, we might have some property in the marina even, the fence that they put up was on the property, so.
If you do a survey, it may benefit you. You may be able to get some back. I don't.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a bigger building.
Well, I can tell him to survey it, and then he said he'd do it, and he thinks he could get it done by, what's this month?
January.
February.
Yep.
Said he might be able to get done by
2023.
February, if it doesn't, snow and it doesn't look like it's gonna.
Right. Okay,
So you want a survey then?
we're gonna need a survey. Yes, sir. Sorry about that, but we have to have some way of being able to determine the area.
Okay, I do think these numbers will work even with the survey. I think it's gonna be close enough.
Okay. That-
I mean, I can adjust
Right.
something if I have to.
Yep. And we'd like to see you pull the building as far as you could away from the homes that are there.
Well, I'll make the required setbacks and then some.
Right, exactly.
I will give them as much as I can.
Some sort of visual on what the boundaries are going to look like between the buildings and the two abutters.
And specifically what you're gonna retain for vegetation.
Right, and what's going to be retained, what will be there when you're finished.
Well, I'd like the lawn, everything, put lawn on everything. I can put some, what's there is pretty spindly and sticky because they didn't get any sunlight and it was all undergrowth there.
Well,
It was all just, it was a mess. It really was a mess. We've cleared that lot a couple times trying to do this, but it never really,
Okay, then
materialized.
not speaking for the board, but then I would be, my concern would be is if you're going to cut to the property line and put lawn in, then I would be curious as to what those abutters' comments
No,
would be
I'm
on
not,
that.
like I said, we're not gonna go to the line.
Okay,
And
all
I
right.
still haven't, and there's a fringe of trees there. around.
Okay.
But they're not much, I mean, they're small trees, maybe they'll grow now.
Yeah,
They got
you
some-
know,
got
it's
some line.
great.
We just need to see it on the plan, what's gonna be retained and what's gonna be
Right.
cut, that's all.
It's all
Okay.
in my sketch, you can see little trees growing around.
Yeah,
I don't think they're not in the exact right place though, are they?
we'll have to go look.
I don't know if I like that.
Do that in the fall.
All right, so get a survey, and then, should I go to the fire department and talk to them about it, or?
Sure.
It's always good to go to the fire department. Wayne?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that.
Okay,
Especially where they're changing the size of the building, and about the access around the building. Definitely, that would be a good move.
okay. So, survey, talk to Jim, talk to Wayne, come back to us.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Anything else? Kevin, you okay?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Back to our ordinance review. So I would just, before I turn this over to Alex for the ordinance review, just as a personal note, I would kind of like to get this to our February meeting, which means Sandy's going to have to notify us, and we're not going to have to make too many changes. So I'm not saying don't make changes, but,
Hopefully just small clerical stuff, right?
right, unless it's just small stuff, we could just, we could move it to the February meeting to get it sent to the selectmen. Okay, Alex?
Yes, okay, so, yeah, I'll go through these here. Not a lot of changes, so it shouldn't take too long. The first one, I did consolidate all the shoreland stuff, the mandatory shoreland amendments, so that's now all in one, one chunk here. No major changes from the last time on that. The second item, scrolling, is the open space change, which we have just removed. And there is actually something new here to look at, which is 300-9.21 lots. And that is going to be on page number 2 of 23-02. There is a section in the land use ordinance that requires for new lots created, you have to be able to meet the frontage of the lot at the front setback. So if the front setback is 30 feet into the lot, you still have to have the minimum lot frontage. So you can't start to do a triangle until you fit that point. The way it was worded, it said you had to have the minimum frontage at the setback. So let's say the setback's 40, you had to have the frontage there. I had someone come in and say, well, can I have the frontage and then go in and then have a 5 foot wide section that meets the minimum frontage and then go back in again? And I said, well, technically, that's kind of how the ordinance is written. So I went to the attorney and he said, yeah, we should probably change that. So this is the fix for that. Now we'll just say that the entire area between the front lot line and that minimum front setback has to be the minimum lot frontage. So now it's all the way there. That's an easy one. Any thoughts? Okay.
Good.
The next, number 3, this is the section we talked about a little bit last time on special features. I did add in dumpsters and trash receptacles.
Yep.
And I believe I actually added fuel storage areas as well. So that was just based on last time's conversation. about expanding on that. No other changes there from last time. Number 4
The big new one.
is the one where we're gonna pause. This is the biggest change since last time is basically a complete rewrite of this entire section. Went out and did some shopping at other towns. Come to find out, we are leading the charge on this. Basically, no one has adopted really anything for shipping containers. I did find a few things here and there. Portland does have some stuff in place. I kind of took Portland and used it as inspiration for format.
De-urbanized.
Yeah, and simplified it a lot. And so they're broken down: residential, non-residential, and then storage or occupancy, and then temporary and permanent. So to go through it, temporary hasn't really changed. You can still do it for construction sites. You know, if you're moving and you need to get a shipping container. Permanent construction, I did have some things that, you know, we probably want to discuss. And that is the number. You know, if we're going to allow them for permanent storage, are we keeping it just 1 per lot? Are we not going to limit it? Are we going to limit it based on square footage? And then screening, I didn't add anything in for screening on what would be an appropriate method for screening. Jim did have a good point, I think, and I did add it in. Number 5 on page number 2 of 23-4. That's that shipping containers shall not be located between the principal structure and the front lot line.
And the reason I did that is just aesthetics.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to go down the street and see shipping containers in front yards. So again, you know, we're not saying you can't do them. They just
Right.
got to be put either at or behind the building.
It's a good idea.
So yeah, a few things that we probably want to figure out there. As far as occupancy use goes, they have to meet the you know, the applicable codes
IBC.
essentially.
Is that the IBC?
Yeah, so the intermodal shipping containers section is in 2021 IBC, but it kind of just says that it has to meet everything else. So I just included it as a reference that it has to be designed in accordance with.
Are those,
Gets complicated real quick.
now do shipping containers, they like mobile homes, do they come with a certification for structural integrity or something?
Apparently they do. I know very little about it, but looking into it, they
Kevin-
do have.
Kevin's kind of
Yeah,
an expert.
mine have it in a plaque that's on the container itself.
And who, may I ask, who certifies that? Is it the manufacturer, or is it reference a code, or how does that done?
Yeah, I think it references some codes. I'm not sure it's the building codes,
Okay,
but they have their own standards.
yeah, it's
I
probably,
could, yeah.
it's probably for the shipping
Anybody wants
cargo
to, if
industry.
anybody wants to come and take a look at it, you can see
Yeah, they stack.
what it looks like. Yeah.
Um,
The only question I had on this one, I have this, what you've got there looks really good, Alex, I think.
Yep.
The only question I had is down in number 5 on page 3. You have installation and connection of plumbing, electrical, heating components performed at the local building site will be done by licensed contractors, which I think that if you own your own property, you can do your own construction.
Yep.
So I don't think that's
Yeah.
applicable, is it?
Yeah, you may be correct on that one. And I think that was probably a copy and paste that came right from somewhere else. So yes, someone that is not a master plumber or an electrician is allowed to do their own work if it is their primary residence.
Right, and it conforms to all the codes and
Yeah.
ordinances, obviously.
So if someone's going to bring one of these in and it's going to be their primary residence, then technically, yes, they could pull the permits to do their own work.
The accessory structure and not a primary residence? That make
If
difference?
it's an
Well-
accessory structure, they technically couldn't. If it's electrical, I think plumbing you probably can, but they kind of they don't necessarily match each other. Plumbing and electrical.
You know, as far as the structural.
Well, if you had a garage, if you built your garage, you're able to do the electrical plumbing
Yes.
work in it. And that's no, to me, that's no different than this.
As far as this, the strength of these, the structural capacity, I've used them for many, many years in construction jobs. Usually, we always bought used ones that were no longer useful for putting on ships stacked 10 high, because they were rusted, they were banged around and stuff. So, is there gonna be any way to, like, qualify that? Do we require new ones? Or can they put a used one that, you know, we had them, they'd leak, they'd have holes in this.
Right, they rusted out a little bit.
Yeah,
Typically they come in three versions. They come in new, they come in one trip containers, which are pretty much like new, and then they come in used, which, you know, like you're saying, could be anything.
yeah, it could be up to junk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't
The
put
one we obtained was a one-trip container, which means it looks just like new. It's a few scuffs, but that's it.
Put that in the
So that's worth adding, I would think.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
Somehow.
One single use or new.
Okay.
Because we
Right.
had them with rotten floors and.
I think that would help a lot with,
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, what do you, when you buy something like this that is new or single use, you get something, is there like a bill of sale that you
Yes,
get?
yeah, absolutely. They get serial numbers and everything, yeah.
show proof, that's all you have to do.
There's proof of, yeah, you can get proof of.
Proof of
how many
single
trips
use
they
or new.
made. Yeah, yeah.
And are you thinking that is for both temporary and permanent use, or just permanent use?
I think permanent.
Because
Yeah.
temporary.
Temporary, if it's
probably-
gonna only
Right,
be
so
there
yeah,
for a short
it's
time.
come and go.
And what about storage use? If someone wants to do permanent storage use, are you
Permanent.
thinking that
Yes, permanent then.
you
Any
probably,
type of permanent use, you don't want to enforce that everything.
Yeah,
you would want it to be new or close
Or
to
one
I
trip.
think only the temporary could be used.
used? Okay. Yeah.
And if you follow the guidelines in the building code, and you have one of those, you're gonna mount that really well mounted and keep it from being in water underneath it, so it doesn't rust underneath. So there's a lot of things they address in that code. I know, Alex, if you've read that, to keep them in good shape if you mount them correctly.
Well, if they're permanent, they gotta be on a foundation anyway, right?
Yep.
Right, on the foundation, they address the different types
Gotcha.
of foundations,
Waterproofing and things like that, I guess.
yeah.
So we need to figure out screening. What you guys think might be acceptable.
Didn't we talk about did we talk about setbacks too?
We did, you and I did talk about having maybe a more strict setback that applies to shipping containers.
Or if they don't, then they have to have a screening of some nature, was what we were thinking. If we have a little bit wider, what did we use?
Like
Was
50
it, was it hoop houses? What did we talk about?
So, there are some animal agricultural uses that require, like a 50-foot setback from another residential property. And, you know, that's probably for pig
Noise,
storage
yeah.
and stuff, you know. So we talked about doing something like that where, you know, normal side setbacks 20 feet, even smaller in some of the, you know, in the village zones, maybe like 50 feet. And if you can't, if you couldn't meet the 50-foot setback, then you had to
Screen it.
screen it.
Screen it.
Screen it with fencing or landscaping.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay.
If they're being used for an agricultural use, I don't know a lot about farming, but, you know, people have animals going in instead of a barn. How would that,
Yeah, that's a good question
Or
because
husbands in the container. Not the doghouse, but we're in the container.
I could see someone trying to put one of these up and then grow plants in it of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Geraniums.
yeah.
goats?
Actually, we have a few that do that. So I think that would fall under the storage use probably.
Yeah, I mean, but as long as a setback, I
Considered
wouldn't think it'd be an
permanent.
additional setback though. beyond what we would say
Yeah, right.
any other container would need.
Right. Yes, permanent storage, yeah.
Yep.
Now, what do we think about the number?
Or the number of units.
This would be for storage. Do we want to limit it to one, or do you want to limit it to?
I think we should do one less than Kevin has.
Well, mine's not storage. Mine is active electrical devices inside.
Units or square footage or footprint?
Well, it can't be, it's an accessory structure technically, right? So it has to be subordinate to the primary structure.
Right.
So I think you just, unfortunately, I think you're gonna follow the accessory structure rules with this, as far as area coverage and
Yeah,
everything.
why not? That would make it simple.
So someone could do multiple as long as they don't exceed the coverage, the lot coverage and setbacks,
Or, yeah,
Yeah, I don't see what,
and it can't
I mean,
be larger
You know, I
than the
think-
house.
Kevin brought up a great point last time, it's an accessory structure, so if you're counting as an accessory structure, someone could build a shed, right?
yeah.
Right.
So, I think it's just a matter of where, right? And that, I think we've got that kind of covered.
Okay.
We'll see where the trend goes over time, but,
So we'll just go by square footage base.
well, per container, right?
Yeah.
Can't exceed.
But do we want to increase the setback? Is that,
Yeah.
we decided that you are
increase the
increasing the
setback, but
Okay.
Oh, you've got
As far
all,
as the number of them,
Right.
instead of
Yes,
having.
that's the question.
yeah, because right now, if you look at, on sheet, page 2, number 4, total floor area of all intermodal shipping containers on the lot shall not exceed 700 square feet.
Okay.
So that's, but how big is a normal shipping container?
But that's not for, that wasn't for occupancy though.
Correct. That's
Right.
storage use.
That's
Yep.
storage use.
Right, just storage use, right?
I mean, there's other options. For example, home occupation uses, you're limited to doing 20% of the square footage of the house. So we could look at going, the accessory storage can only be a certain percentage of whatever the square footage of the dwelling is, principal structure is.
So the only thing I was thinking about, because I was thinking about tonight, if you have an apartment use, and somebody all of a sudden wants to start using these for storage units for the apartment,
And which is what gonna happen.
yeah, that's what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and, so I think that's one thing we gotta be careful of, because I don't think we wanna have a whole bunch of storage units behind an apartment complex.
Yeah, I was concerned about what's gonna be stored in there as well. I mean,
Exactly.
There's no.
And I'm sure Wayne's probably worried about that too.
Yeah, I mean, he says there's gonna be no flammables, but, I mean, if you're giving
How do you
that
police
key
it,
to the
right?
apartment, how are you gonna police
I
it?
mean, people put gas cans in their shed,
Yeah.
like that, so,
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
Yeah.
I live in Gray, Wayne.
As long as they meet the fire codes, that's all we care about.
So maybe to your point, it should be a percentage of the building, of the principal structure that's benefiting.
But what do you run into, Alex? What do you? what would
So
you-
for a garage or a shed, we wouldn't require that. It could be any size as long as they meet setbacks and lot coverage.
Okay. For
So
accessory-
this would be an additional requirement than they would have to meet if they built something, out of wood or steel, I guess. So, yeah, I think that it might not be, I guess you could say it's not necessarily fair.
Yeah, that's where I come from too, but at the same token, well, I guess the one thing would be if it's a multifamily, the board would have a review of that.
Yep, if it's a multifamily structure, yeah. But if it's an apartment or a duplex, a single family with an apartment or a duplex, then,
Yeah, but those
And
are a
yeah,
little more palatable.
you
I
can't do a duplex in 90% of the town
think.
anyways,
Right,
right now.
Yeah, and you're still restricted to how much you can clear,
right.
right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still going to limit it.
That's true.
So maybe we just stick with the same as the accessory structure, and if it becomes a problem, we can
Add
look
that
at it
back in.
again.
So strike out that number 4, the 700 square foot then, and open it up.
Yeah, 700 square feet would be
One,
4 of them? No.
four, is it four?
What are they? They're 8 by.
What's the footprint of one, Kevin?
Well,
28.
mine is 8 by 40.
8 by 40.
40.
How'd you get permission to do that?
You get two sizes,
Yes, me.
20 footers or 40
That's
footers
two.
typically,
Basically,
so.
it's almost, that's two, really, 8 by
Yeah,
40,
two.
Yeah, I think you just,
So by taking that out, I mean, someone might be able to do 5 of these, 6 of these, but I guess we wait and see what happens, and if
See
we
what
have to,
happens.
if we have to adjust, we have to adjust, I guess.
No, as long as they meet the building code and they,
that's a.
if you want to have
potential foundation,
screening, does it really,
Does it really matter, I guess?
Yeah, I
does it
mean,
really matter? I
this
mean,
is on
it's
a
like, you
foundation,
could build
so
a, like you say,
it's a-
it's on a foundation, you could
Yeah.
build a garage,
Yep.
and you could make the garage look worse than that if you wanted to.
Yep.
So, I mean, as long as you do, you know, like you say, the screening I think is great, the setbacks are a good idea, you know, but I think we're in again, it's, you know, I may have some personal interest in this, but if I had.
Just a little bit.
Well, no, I mean, I could build a garage with metal siding and do the same thing, and, you know, it's.
What we could just
to
add,
me-
shall not exceed 700 square feet without planning board approval.
Yeah.
And then it comes back, if they
Yeah.
want to put 5 of them in, they got to come here.
You could do that.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be simple enough.
yeah,
I mean,
I think that sounds good.
A stick-built garage doesn't come anywhere near the structural strength as one of these new containers. And fire safety as well.
So maybe it seems like at this point, if we can, I kind of like the idea of limiting it, if we can, if we're allowed to somehow, limiting it to maybe 2, subject to prior or further review by the planning board.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you can keep the 700 square feet,
Yeah,
and then anything over 700 square feet
Yeah.
requires planning board approval.
I think that's a good idea, because then we,
I like
I
that.
kind of hate the idea of waiting until it becomes a
Yeah.
problem,
I-
because then it is a problem.
Yeah,
Well, then you got retro, right, at
Yeah.
that point?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I agree. That's a good call. We'll do that.
Okay.
And the other part of this is if the lot is 40 acres, it's in the back, that's
Right.
10 of them, 20 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it affects, the butters is really, what you don't want to look at it if it's screened, if it's,
Yeah, I
Totally
think-
different.
I think you'll
It's
find that
different.
there's probably more of these in town than you realize on some big parcels.
yeah, I mean, if
Smashed in the woods or down.
it's your land, you can do what you want with it, but if it's going to affect somebody else, that's where that line is kind of.
I agree. So the occupancy use stuff gets a little bit funky because there's, pre-modified or modified on site, which is, essentially a stick-built house or a modular house. It's kind of how it's set up. So if they're gonna buy a pre-modified shipping container that is essentially all put together as a dwelling unit that's delivered, then there's just a list of stuff that they need to provide us with, which is similar to if it was a modular home. It does require that they get a third-party inspector, which Portland has a whole process for that, which looks like a nightmare. And a lot more paperwork than I think Raymond can afford to do at this time. So I did leave it in there. I do think it's probably a good idea. And that would kind of relieve the town of having to sign off on anything that was manufactured
Does
elsewhere.
Raymond follow Mubeck?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you start cutting holes in the side of this thing, you read in the building code, there's just a limited number of holes you can cut of a certain size and placement before the structural integrity starts going down.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
I did notice that on page 3, it says that it shall not be located between the principal structure and the front lot line, but in this case, it would likely be the principal structure if it's an occupancy use, or it could be, so that would probably need to come out of there. Because if someone is doing an occupancy use, a single family, I guess, out of a shipping container, then it would be the principal structure. So that section needs to or that number needs to get taken out.
Cross that one out.
You don't even need it,
You don't
right?
even need it.
Right. It wouldn't apply here. And then the point that Kevin brings up about installation of plumbing, electrical, and heating components, we can remove the section about licensed contractors. We would just probably leave in that permit applications would need to be approved, and it would need to conform to the applicable codes. I didn't change anything in the non-residential section. And we can put the same stuff in, or we could just get rid of the residential, non-residential thing and just make it town-wide. But I wasn't sure what you guys thought about allowing them in the commercial district. So there's really only two that are non-residential, and that would be commercial and industrial, which is all 302. Or sections of 302, so.
And this is for just storage, right? Basically, these permanent storage, in the non-residential?
Well, non-residential right now, you can do storage by going to the planning board through site plan. So it is already allowed temporarily or permanently, I think.
Does it require a foundation in the existing regulation that it would be under?
I actually think it may just be temporary. Look real quick. The use is limited to the temporary storage of goods, products, or materials. So we probably should make it.
Make it for the residents, and I think if you have it permanent and non-residential, you should follow the same.
Yeah.
So maybe we just get rid of the residential and non-residential and just make this all one.
I think it's easier.
Yeah.
There's a possibility someone on 302 could put a shipping container out by the road, but if they follow this ordinance and they have to meet the,
Well, do we really want them out on 302?
well, they would have to be screened and they have to be behind the principal structure.
Right, that's what I mean, we
Yeah.
want it behind the principal
Right.
structure.
So if it's out near the road, then it's probably a temporary thing
Right.
anyways.
Yep, which is fine.
What if it is the principal structure?
Well, then it's a principal structure.
Then it would have to meet setbacks.
If it's the principal structure, it's the principal structure.
Yeah, but it just meets the setbacks, it can't be behind anything else, then
Right.
it has to be
Yeah.
screened or architecturally modified to
Well, if it's,
some degree.
Yeah, and there is no setback in the commercial district, so it could be pretty close to the road if it was the principal structure, but
I mean, you can buy those things pre-made now that are shops to sell, any number of things from.
like we-
Kevin, what do these things cost? What's a shipping container cost?
Well, it depends when you buy them. Pre-pandemic, they were about $5,000 for the 8x40s. And then if you went 2 months into the pandemic, they were $10,000.
Wow.
And then they dropped down to, back to about 7,500. And then they're starting to go up again because of inflation. So there's quite a variance. And that's for, like I said, that's for a one trip or a new container.
Does that include shipping?
Yeah, delivery, yes.
Oh, wow.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
We got ours from Main Trailer up in Bangor.
I think most people would use 20-footers anyway. From what I've seen, 40s are.
40s are, yeah, they're rare. That's a big container.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Except
It
for
was
Kevin's
filled
house.
instantly.
You don't even
Never
notice.
enough space. So I'll make all of those changes. The definition, I didn't really mess with much. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it. This whole section still needs to go to the attorney. So there's a possibility he'll make some changes to this.
Okay.
Actually, I guarantee he'll make some
Take
changes to it.
Yeah,
Definitely going to. I don't know how much would end up changing, but I mean, I guess, whatever comments you guys have at this point, we can add in, send it to him, and then we can always make changes, after the public hearing, as long as they're minor,
Right.
not major changes.
Yeah.
that'd be my recommendation. We make the changes per the board discussion this evening,
Send it to
talk to the
Phil.
attorney,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then post it.
Yep.
Okay.
'Cause we'll have more discussion even after the public hearing.
right.
All right. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add on that? Awesome.
We're all good.
Good.
Oh,
Moving
That
back
wasn't
around.
bad. Number 5 is the land use map, which was going to be changed more than you have in front of you, but it was going to be too much of a project. So what you have here is the 2014 zoning map, updated and corrected. There was an error on the inset in 2014 that's been on the map ever since. So the only changes that we have proposed here would be a correction to the inset. The stream protection zone has changed from an orange to a blue. And the resource protection district, the symbol is changed slightly to a little bit easier to see symbol. Other than that, it's just style font stuff and the border and everything. But that's pretty much it. The goal here is to get that inset fixed and just get an updated map that we actually know is correct, that we can save, get in the vault, and then maybe the next year or two we can look at changing. I know the comp plan committee is probably going to maybe make some changes that might update this map too eventually. So I just wanted to get a clean copy that everyone knows is correct, back updated and signed and everything. So
Okay,
good on that one.
good on that one.
No.
I just printed a little bit larger so you can see it.
So number 6 hasn't changed. Actually, there was a change. I added major. I think it was Ed that brought that up last time, that it minor says minor, but major didn't say major. So now it's just clear which one's minor and which one's major. Number 7 did not change at all. And I think that's it. Yep, that's the last one. So, I mean, I think it's probably realistic that we can do a public hearing next month.
Yeah, I think so. What's the, when do we have to have, we don't have to have these posted before the public hearing.
We do.
We do.
We
How
do.
long? Sandy,
14 days, I believe. Yes.
14 days.
So fortunately,
Okay.
this is, not a lot to change, so I can get the shipping containers updated and off to the attorney this week, and hopefully it's a quick turnaround and we can have everything ready to be posted next week.
Next week.
Yeah. So we'll do that, and that
Sandy, that gives us enough time to advertise, correct, for the public hearing? Okay.
and then we're a month ahead of where we need to be for the warrant schedule anyways, so that puts us in really good shape.
Right. All right. That takes care of the workshop.
Wow, that's good.
Staff communication and updates.
I believe, Sandy, that information about Starrett and their timing, that went around to the whole board, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that was my first information. I mean, and back to the whole violation, right? We're not gonna obviously see anything for a period of time.
Yeah.
Based on that correspondence, they're not gonna start the survey until February, probably be April or May before it even gets to this board.
Yeah,
So, we're probably looking at May or June.
yeah, before it gets, because
Before
it's
it
gonna go
get-
through you first, right?
Right,
You gotta-
right.
they gotta-
So it's gonna be May or June before, you see it, so I don't know what that does.
Yeah, so
Town's other action on this property, but
the suggestion from the town's attorney was to bring it up next month, review that letter as a board, and then decide to table or deny based on, what they have submitted. The enforcement stuff will continue on as its own thing. If they bring a site plan in May, then you guys can review what they've submitted and handle it like you would any other application, but the select board will make the call on if they want to take any legal action against them in the meantime, which they may.
So are they would they be sort of waiting to see if the planning board decided to deny the application? Just
No, not necessarily. I think the two processes are probably going to continue separately on their own paths for a while. I think the end result, if they want to continue to do what they're doing, they're going to have to get approval from the planning board or they're going to have a signed consent agreement from the town, the select board, saying that they can do it, which the select board would probably just say, get after the fact approval from the planning board and legalize what you got.
Does that mean they cease their current?
They should anyways, yeah. They've been told they need to stop.
They
a while
give them a
ago.
formal cease and desist order? Or?
Yeah, they were issued, that formal document, 2020.
I just passed a whole bunch of trucks coming out of there.
Yeah. So, there's really only so much we can do.
Yep. No, I'm just saying.
I can't go over there and arrest them for not listening. So, there's fines. There's other things that municipalities can do. So that's going to continue on. I don't think you guys need to worry too much about that. I think the best thing to do would probably be look at this as a site plan application,
Yep.
which it is odd because it's after the fact and you guys don't normally do that. If it's going to be May, we'll see where we are in May when it comes in. You never know. This could go, in the next month or two, could go a few different directions.
Seems like they need to do a lot of substantial changes to their site.
Yeah, I think, yes.
Well, I think they first got to get their site mapped.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
So we'll, that'll be at the next meeting. You guys can, obviously they won't have a complete application again, so it'll probably be a situation where, you could probably just table until they bring in something.
will they actually come into the next meeting? Or are they just going to submit that same letter?
I don't know. I am inspecting the property again on Friday, so I'll talk with them then
Okay.
and see what their plans are.
Hey, Sammy, just make sure it's not listed as a public hearing for their spot.
Absolutely.
Not that the public can't attend, but
Yeah. The marina, back, not back?
Nothing yet, right, Sandy?
Nothing came in from them, but we got back Potvin, we got back Clark, and we have, hang on. I have notes. Okay, we've got started on for a status review.
yeah.
Preliminary subdivision review for Potvin, preliminary subdivision review for Clark, which is also Raymond Cape,
Those are the two.
and preliminary amendment to approve subdivision for Adams. That's just moving a lot along.
Oh, okay.
Whatever happened to Chase? We went out there for a site walk.
Yeah, he's
It's right next to these pot
part of these.
Yeah.
It's part of the
Yep.
whole dilemma. but
Okay.
He's done nothing.
And he has not withdrawn his application, right, Sandy?
No, he was supposed to,
So
He never
but
did.
by now the time has lapsed, so he's back to square one anyhow.
Had a feller buncher out there today.
So yeah, we've got that whole Raymond Cape kind of Potvin cleanup situation, which hopefully that at least gets us back to baseline. I don't know what the Adams just sounds like it's a property line adjustment.
Yeah, that's all that is.
Okay. We know what Star Ed is, and then we've got public hearing for ordinances.
Yep.
Right.
And then in March, we'll have a new subdivision amendment on Spiller Hill coming, also from BH2M. So, yeah, there's some stuff coming.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
To adjourn?
There's been a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second, is there a, should we have discussion?
Nope, you're
No, well, all those in favor? Opposed? You're adjourned.